welcome in to Heater Dynasty Podcast. This is our second installment of the Player Series. We're introducing Albert Gonzalez today, otherwise known as Al Beasy. So can you give us the correct pronunciation of your moniker?
It was Al Beasy. There's no R. Don't trust Newell because he's adding R to places that don't need to be added to. So, Newell, if you're paying attention, Al Beasy. ALBEEZY Jordan 23.
Got it. All right. Awesome. Well,
Al Beasy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're jumping right in with, we can see how that rivalry began right here. But I would love to hear your side of the story after we heard Seth Newell's rousing rendition. But what is it? How did this rivalry start on your end?
So, I mean, in any league, you know, I'm usually pretty confident. I always like to have a good time. No harm, no foul. And I always tell people the champ is here. Basically, my philosophy is if you draft strong, you never have to worry about your teams. I can tell you I had 5 teams last year. Out of 5 teams, 4 of them won 10 games, and I made the playoffs with a team that was 5-8. So, as usual, I just had to make myself be known. I said the champ is here. And then as we got into the season, Seth makes a joke about our boy Antonio Brown because I took him with the 3rd round pick, and then he starts making little commentary, calling AB a rapist, still on my team, and I guess I'm like, you know what, this guy, I don't know what it is about this guy, but he's making commentary, and I'm like, I want to beat this guy. He keeps chipping at my team, and I have to beat him. So after that, I'm like, you know what, there's nobody else that I know that I want to make my rival. This guy, he's my rival. So it started off with pre-crazy Antonio Brown, and I feel like it's just picked up ever since. So every time he says something, I'll say something, he'll say something, and we just keep it going. Now he's having a fire sale on his team.
I was going to say, is he going to have anybody that he can roster next week at this point? Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I'll send him a 2029 5th round pick for maybe one of his guys that's on the block and see what he says, but his team, we were just looking at his team earlier. I mean, he's got a team that's ready to compete now. His bench is a little thin, but I mean, that's just how everything goes as we're kind of navigating this whole dynasty thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm thinking about offering him Christian McCaffrey for Mike Gesicki straight up. I don't know.
I think him a popsicle too, and make him probably take it.
All right. It's quite possible. But no, this is great. So who do you think started the rivalry? Was it you or was it him?
I guess it's probably me since I said the champ is here. And from what he said last week, he's like, this is my guy. So I guess I unofficially started the rivalry, and then he kicked it in with the whole AB thing a year ago. And then as time went on, I mean, we just started making jabs, and then it probably picked up a little bit more when he tried to trade the farm for a golden egg. And I was actually, I think I might have been vocal, and I was like, you know what, what's he trying to do to swindle right off of the first year? Or, you know, why is he trying to pull a fast one? And I'm like, you know, I'm all about equality but if you're trying to collude and get $1 for giving up a quarter, you know, there's something a little bit wrong. So I don't know, I must have just picked up from there. But every time he says something, I just have to chime in. And now we are rivals, and I'm 0-2, unfortunately. But hey, it's better than being 0-15, because if I'm 0-15, I'm still talking smack.
I was going to say, I don't see this stopping anytime soon.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And he can say what he wants. He can have his fire sale if he wants. I don't buy it for a second. I mean, his team is really good. Like, if you look at his roster, you're like, okay, he gave up 4 picks, but he ended up getting Eckler, and Eckler now is a stud. So I mean, even with all the hating aside, like, he has a pretty good team. I mean, his bench is a little thin, but then again, you know, things happen, and you make picks on what you think is going to happen, and it's just a unique way of going all in versus kind of preparing for the future. So it's been a good mix, but he's still chirping.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think he had Eckler, and I think he got Melvin Gordon.
Oh, he got goodness. All right, so he got Gordon. So I mean,
but same thing. It was at that time they were both on the same team.
And,
yes, that was during Melvin's holdout / the fear of, oh no, he's coming back. What's Austin Eckler going to be? and just so happened that Austin Eckler was still awesome Eckler without him. So
he's in Denver, and that's an iffy. I mean, he'll still do work. He got him 18 points this past loss that he takes.
Yes.
He had to be pretty excited because I know last year it was Eckler and Gordon starting both running backs in the same backfield. So I think there's more opportunity now that they're separate. We're seeing Seymour do the same thing with the Browns, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb starting them every week together. So
I mean, it's working.
It's working.
Yeah, you got to feel pretty good. Well, after watching Justin Herbert yesterday,
yeah,
he's got very good zip on the ball, so there's going to be a lot of receiving opportunities for him too.
For sure. Now, who has Justin Herbert in our league? Oh yeah, that would be me. That would be me.
You.
That's right.
Oh, excuse me. I forgot. I was drafting in the back, so therefore I didn't have anybody good. So Jerry Jeudy was the only one that I'm like, I mean, for a back pick, everybody else went. I'll take him.
Yeah, no, I think that one will definitely play out well going forward. Definitely now that Cortland Sutton might be done for the season, that will help you. Yeah, this week.
I got my quarterback in the rookie draft. I don't know what's going to happen when Jacob Eason. And I mean, if Phillips only plays 1 year, who's the backup? It's Jacoby Brissett, which they don't have a lot of faith in it anymore. So, I mean, see how much he picks up in this year. And if he gets thrust into the starting role, I have my replacement for Drew Brees.
Sure. But I mean, you're already starting to talk about it. So let's dive into your team a little bit. How are you feeling about your team going into the second season here?
So I felt pretty good. I actually felt very good about my team going into the season, only because I looked at some of the players that I had. I'm like, all right, I have Ingram. He's looking pretty good. If Adrian Peterson stays consistent, he'll still get touches. I mean, I have. Who else do I have? I have Kamara and Jacobs. Those are two solid players. Yeah. So I'm feeling pretty good about them. And then, obviously with the way everything went with these rookies kind of leapfrogging these veterans, I'm like, all right, now I can see where my team is slightly thinned out at running back with Hyde. That's why I ended up taking Dillon too as an insurance policy, just to kind of have somebody for the future. And my running backs that I took a gamble on, like Agumbawale, I had him as like a backup. I think I had Gaskins at one point and I dropped him, but I have Raquel Armstead. I don't know how he's going to do. So it's just like I can still compete. I can certainly still compete because once Godwin comes back, I'll have that elite receiver again. I don't know how he's going to fit with Brady, but I mean, overall with the other pickups that I've made, I'm happy with my team as a whole. I'll probably, I may have to make a pick here and there, but like I was telling you, I picked up Schultz, the tight end from the Cowboys, and I picked up Fell, so I kind of reassured my tight end group, which is the one my major Achilles heel. So I feel like I've solidified everything a little bit overall. Jarrett Stidham was another one that I felt good on, but since Cam's the man, that defeats the purpose, which I can still hold on to him. So overall, I think my team still can compete. It's just a matter of who I run up to, because now the other league members are averaging. Some of them are projected for 200 or 190 a week, and you're like, I gotta see how
I don't know who that is.
Oh, I don't know, a couple there, but we won't go into details. And I saw your breakdown of the division. Who ranked my quarterbacks 9?
Let's see here. So that would be me. I ranked your quarterbacks 9.
You ranked them 9. So when I saw it, I said, "What?" I said, "Nah." I said, "You could." I said, "You're gonna put me over 8 other people." And I'm still probably gonna do it because when I get back for another session with you guys, we're gonna talk about quarterbacks and we're gonna talk about the other 8. I'm gonna watch everything in jot notes. The other 8 you put ahead against me, and we'll discuss it a little bit more. I mean, granted, when we talked about it and you told me that, obviously you have to account for the fact that Drew Brees is gonna, it's probably his last year, so I'm gonna lose one of my main starters. That really does kind of, I can understand, but I'm like, man, 9? I would have been okay with 7, but you You killed me with 9.
See, you're happy with Mark. You're upset with me. I got you. So, because Mark's got you at 7. I got you.
I would have taken 7. I know I don't have any.
There you go.
But when I looked at the draft, and I'll tell you when it was my first turn to take a quarter. I mean, I took Goff as my first quarterback, and I was just thinking at the time, I was like, man, who else am I going to take? But then I realized that it didn't click until later on, where I'm deep in rounds, and I'm like, I forgot to kind of pick up more quarterbacks because it's a double quarterback league. Had I known, I would have gone. I actually wanted Russell Wilson, and someone drafted him 2 spots before me, and I was like, okay. I would have probably gone Goff and maybe Dak back to back.
Yeah. Cool. It's nice having Bridgewater there as well. I mean, he's looked good here in the start.
Yeah, when I was drafting, I had the intention. I was like, well, if I can't since everybody else is really gone, who's a good idea? So since he was his backup at the time, I'm like, okay, a Teddy Bridgewater under a Saints offense, that looks pretty safe. And then I caught Stidham. I drafted. I think I picked Stidham up off of waivers. So I mean, we'll see what we have to do.
Yeah, no, and I think going forward, I think your team definitely has some potential. Even if Drew Brees decides that he's done breaking every single record imaginable, but I mean, going forward, who knows? I don't know that Cam's going to be in New England for more than this season. I think this is his chance to prove to everyone that they were wrong and that he should make a lot more money than the measly $1 million that he's making. But we'll see. So you have the potential for that, as well as Jacob Eason. There's definitely some potential. I think it's just there was no surefire second quarterback on your team, because even at the time we didn't know what Teddy Bridgewater was going to do.
Yeah,
I was pretty sure that Christian McCaffrey was just going to do everything. So now for the next couple of weeks, I don't know what they're going to do, but.
We know what Noel's going to do. Fire sale.
I'm not buying that. And Seth, if you're really serious about this, when this is published, send me a trade if you're that serious. We can talk. Rivals aside, we can make this a Boston Red Sox Yankees rivalry. I'm still willing. If it's a trade that'll work, I'm willing to do it. So come talk to me.
All right, breaking news right here. I love it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be in the process of making trades. So I'm going to probably send something and start throwing in draft picks and kind of see where they go.
Cool. All right, let's see here. What other questions do I got for you today? Okay, let's go back a little bit. Growing up, who is your favorite team?
So my favorite team. So I didn't really get into football until maybe I was like 13. So I can tell you the first Super Bowl that I remember was when Favre won the Super Bowl. That was the first time I remember it. I didn't grow up a New England fan. I think somewhere along the line that my first team was the Niners. I don't know, maybe if it was because T.O. was really popular, or I think that's probably what drew me. Jerry Rice, like later years, but probably more T.O. because he was just like a flashy quarterback, a flashy wideout. Excuse me, he's gonna get me for saying that typo, but I mean,
we can edit it out. He'll never know.
No, you throw it in there. It's fine. But edit that part out. But no, T.O. was he was probably one of my favorite wide receivers just growing up, and then for a little time, you really don't understand what just having a simple team is. So I took to McNabb like in the early 2000s. Like I loved the 2000 Eagles. And I mean, I'm not even an Eagles fan, but I really enjoyed McNabb. And when I talk to Eagle fans, it's funny because I'm like, yeah, I remember Freddie Mitchell, Todd Pinkston, Brian Westbrook. And they're like, oh, wow, you really know that stuff. I'm like, yeah, because McNabb, I was just enamored with McNabb as a quarterback. I even have the Vic Eagles jersey. My stepdad got it for me, but it was just for a long time. My buddy reminded me, he's like, no, you're a Niners fan. You're definitely a Niners fan. Because I remember when they drafted Alex Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
First overall.
I was pretty pissed off about that. I was really this was my senior year in high school. And I just remember, I'm like, there's so many other players. And I think that was the same year that Jones-Drew got drafted. So I remember that. I think Jones-Drew came out, and I was like, man, we need like a solid running back at that point. But I mean, we've had good players. I mean, we ended up getting Frank Gore, Vernon Davis. I think we drafted in '06.
That sounds about right.
We had Patrick Willis for a while, and before all the injuries made him retire early. So I mean, but they've improved. And I mean, we hit a home run with Bosa. At one point, I could tell you we had the whole Ravens wide receiving core from the championship. So it's like, it's a little bit of everything. So I mean, I'm pretty happy with the franchise where it's going. I'm not the biggest fan of PG. I'm personally not the biggest fan. I think he's a little bit of a choker, but that's who we
tripper if you look at his ankle right now. But yeah,
it's a high ankle sprain.
Yeah,
and it's just really funny because our backup, it's not. I'm not a big fan of him, but then they were talking about it today where there's a lot of teams that were contacting San Francisco about trying to acquire him, and they were willing to offer some fair compensation for him, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like we have to talk about Colin Kaepernick if you're a 49ers fan.
Absolutely.
How did that go down from your perspective?
So it's a slippery slope to navigate, but when you look at the whole fight for social injustice, that's totally understandable. And trust me, I'm pretty sure, it's everything that we're going forward with. So, like now, it's almost like a two-part question because I tell people, I said, football aside, he opted out of his contract because he had that 1 year remaining. So he opted out to be a free agent. And after that, nobody signed him. At first, as a fan, it wasn't because of the whole social injustice thing, which later on, it definitely 95%, 100% looks like he got blackballed after that. But the last year or two, he just wasn't developing as a quarterback. And that's the main thing where I think, when was it? Was it 2011 or 2012 that RG3, Andrew Luck, they all kind of came in as that they advertised the whole dual passer thing, and it became like, the Wildcat was really popular. He was a product of all of that. And we knew that he knew how to run, and he has a cannon for an arm, but the accuracy was just dip, dip, dip. And after a while, you're like, okay, you're using your legs, you're not adapting to making accurate deep throws, accurate mid throws. It's a West Coast offense, so it's always short throws anyway, but you're just not developing as a quarterback. Like, even in just the progression, and then this is why RG3 didn't really last. And now he's the backup, and that's why nobody ended up re-signing him. That's the way that I look at it with Kaepernick, where his numbers were just steadily on the decline.
I know I'm throwing you curveballs here since I gave you, preset questions, and now I'm going off script. But what's the difference between that and Lamar Jackson? Are you predicting his demise as well?
No, because Lamar Jackson, again, back in that time, it's almost like the best reference to answer that. It's almost kind of like, think about how the NBA has become more of a positionless. There's positionless players. The game is suited for the three-pointer. After 2011, more quarterbacks who are dual threat became the standard, and they became successful at it. Franchises built plays to be able to compensate players like Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, who are other,
Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm. A lot of teams.
We know that from this week. That's for sure.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's working over there.
Dak Prescott. But ultimately, and Russell Wilson, like, they adapted these things, and because these
Phillip Rivers.
Just and he's not. But if you think about it, like, who was really the one quarterback who was mobile, but he wasn't like Cam Newton? Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, if he needed to get out of the way and throw a 45-yarder on his back foot, he'll do it all day. But it wasn't really, he isn't really considered like a dual threat quarterback. He'll use his legs when he has to, but when you really think about like RG3 and those guys, so it's almost like the evolution of the game. You also have to take that for account because every quarterback can do that now.
Yeah.
But it's also like if you think about defenses, although they've made it harder for defensive players depending on where you hit, you think about the athleticism of where these athletes are. You have linemen running under 5 seconds on a 40. So it's like you have to adapt because all these guys are getting more athletic, and that's why I mean it's almost like it's literally like the NBA and the NFL both transitioned around the same time. Because if you really think about it, like Steph Curry came around, he made the 3-point shot a lot more popular. But then if you think about the players like Chris Bosh is a positionless player who started doing spot up threes, and next thing you know, you're like, oh man, you have to account for a power forward to spread the floor. So now it's like, yeah, it's more of a positionless game, but this big men now. They always say that it's not a big man's game, but in a sense, sometimes a big man always dictates if a team can win a championship or not because he's still the anchor. So hopefully that answers your question. I mean, Lamar Jackson, they've done it right, and he's shown that he can pass. Like a perfect example, we knew Cam Newton could pass. It was a perfect on yesterday's game. So Cam Newton, I love the fact that although they lost, a lot of New England fans were able to see Cam Newton throw the ball, find progressions. He's developing, and he's still developing. And I love that they mentioned that in the game. There was a couple of things, like if you see that the defense, they're loading 8 in the box and they're going to blitz, don't try to pass the ball. And I mean, those are those little things that he can still learn.
Right.
So,
I will say, I noticed him actually like going through his progressions when he was in Carolina. He'd go, first possession, nothing, run, or just force it in somewhere really tight. Yesterday, there was a couple plays where he's looking at his first progression, nothing. Looking at his second read, nothing. Dump it off to Rex Burkhead for a little 15-yard run. Like that is definitely a new and improved Cam. That's not the old version of Cam that I remember.
Exactly. And I feel like if the Patriots are really satisfied, they're going to offer him some money. Because in a sense, with Brady off the books and some of the other guys who were making that $9 to $15 million range, whether we're talking about Ninkovich and those other guys who went to other teams, you can offer Cam. If Cam enjoys this and he's like, this is built a little bit towards my suit, offer him something in the realm of $20+ million a year. I mean, clearly not a 30. I don't think teams are going to offer him a $35 million a year deal. And we know how the Patriots usually, they'll give them, the contracts look like $20 million a year, but they do large signing bonuses, push out a lot of the money to the back end of contracts. I mean, hopefully that becomes his permanent place to stay.
And I feel like we could even see like Bill Belichick, gaming it in terms of giving them this lower offer, giving an opportunity, and then trading them away or something like that, and them still running back with Stidham. Like I don't know, so many things that could happen there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, coming into camp, before they signed Cam, they were saying that Stidham had a lot of zip on the ball. He looked really good. But then again, I mean, when you get a chance to sign Cam Newton, I would sign him and bye-bye Stidham. I would do that 100 times out of 50 because Cam is just that talented. And if he, obviously with his foot and his shoulder, but, we're seeing, and this
looks good.
The Seahawks defense, they're not the defense from 5 years ago, but hey, they're still a pretty formidable group.
Even when half the team gets ejected or hurt. So
yeah, oh man,
that was crazy yesterday. Well, I don't know exactly how much more time we have, and since we are still cheap this week, as of last week, I want to make sure we get to the last question here because this is the one I'm definitely interested in hearing your perspective on. So, Albert, I know you are commissioner of other leagues. I'm in one of them with you. So what are some of the things that you like about this league and that you might try to bring back to some of your own leagues? Or what are some things that you would change if you were the commissioner of this league?
Okay, so one of the things that I really that I really love about this league is two things. There's the platform itself, which we were talking about earlier. So the platform, the Sleeper platform, to me is such a user-friendly platform. It's very informative. Even if you click on a player, to go from a player to maybe 6 months worth of information, and even if you click on the team, like you can see the depth chart, you get a lot of information, and it's very easy to understand. I love the fact that we don't have a kicker or defense, which it just makes it a lot easier, and you can focus on offensive, and you learn. This is the type of system that you're like, man, you can learn a lot, and especially like preparing for the future and a little bit of everything else. Those are some of the things that I love. I love that the way that this league, the comments thread, it's something there. That's something that ESPN for years people have been asking for. And I mean, the only way you can communicate on ESPN is just sending a message and hope people respond. But this, you can make a direct message. There isn't anything from this league that I would bring into the other leagues because they're not able to incorporate them. That's probably like the best answer, because I love the fact that you're able to send messages, you're able to create everything. There's so much communication aspects that I would bring. That's the main thing. I would bring the communication aspects, and even just the way that they have like league history and just the way that you can save things. I would certainly bring that, because it's just this platform is just so much more. It's so stronger, and there's so much ability that you have for scoring, and we talk about that. I mean, there's really like it's always difficult to kind of figure out what to bring from here, because there's so many things that you can bring. And you know that, I'm pretty sure we all play on ESPN. We've all played on Yahoo. I haven't played on the CBS app, or the NFL's version of fantasy football, which I've heard it's terrible. But
Mark, I think we tried NFL.com once, and it was pretty bad, if I remember correctly. I know we've definitely done like some of their like playoff challenges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like Sleeper is definitely a step above the rest. I think you're right. I think the message board is one of the coolest features. But from a commissioner side, there's a lot of versatility in the score settings. You also can do in-draft trading, which is pretty cool. You can trade draft picks live in your draft. You can trying to think. There's lots of other little nuances that can really customizations makes it really fun.
Actually, you know what you can probably check for me too? Check to see what are other things that you can make as a commissioner that you can't do in season. Like, can you add positions?
Oh yeah, we can.
And those are the things that I would bring back from our league to be able to incorporate into like my league. I tried to just put an IR position. I can't do it, and I'm like, okay, I can increase the number of players if I need to, but to open up an IR spot, like that would have been convenient. So you would think that ESPN each year would get this stuff. And I mean, I think they added the Watson trade machine, which is okay, but it's nothing grand. But I don't know, this whole setup is just grand.
For sure. I mean, ESPN's just a juggernaut. So you know that they have a system. They don't want to have to change it too much or anything like that. They have their set system in place. Whereas I feel like Sleeper is a little bit more independent. They have definitely, I see updates and adaptations all the time. So it's definitely in my opinion, a better platform for sure.
So if we can reference this to video game systems, just in terms of customer service, you'll say that Sleeper, so you say ESPN is like Sony, is like PlayStation, and Sleeper is like Xbox.
Exactly. I'm definitely on the Xbox side. I wasn't sure where you're going with this one.
Well, because it's true, because it's like PlayStation has their set format. They don't really change much, and their customers, their support, or their customers, what they provide for players is not that good. And something like Xbox, I mean, I don't have an Xbox now. I'm not going to get one for the next gen, but one thing that they do really well is that they take care of their people. And I can tell you, like, I'm pretty sure, like, each of us have some sort of, like, really good story with, you just contact customer service and what they do for you, you're like, okay, all I asked for was just help resetting my password. Something like that. So it's like PlayStation, I can tell you, I contacted them for a pre-order and they gave me, it took me an hour just to cancel one pre-order, a digital pre-order, and put it towards another game. So it's just like that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And even just the way that they communicate with people. Really.
And then at the end of the day, they just sent you an Xbox. It was weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's like one of those things where if ESPN just gave us like a thread to make commentary better, that would make the app next level. But I feel like, I mean, yeah, they're the juggernaut, but in terms of simplicity and able to use it, I would actually go ESPN third, Yahoo second, and then Sleeper first.
I think with Sleeper, it seems like it's a lot more raw in terms of like a little more customization, a little more movability. I think visually it's a little raw as well. It can be kind of like gives you a lot of information that can kind of be tough to like navigate at times. But I think overall, like customization and the points you're making, Albert, I really like it overall.
Oh, and you're right. I think that's actually a perfect example. I think it is raw because when you look at all the numbers, I think we're analytical, so we crunch those numbers. But to the average person, they're going to be like, what is this? What is that? So I see what you mean. I didn't think about it from that perspective, but that's actually really smart. It is raw. Like, this is very raw. But I think it's perfect for the people who are veterans. So this is probably something that's meant more for people who are a little bit more seasoned and read more data, things like that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Mark, for the last couple minutes, do you have any questions you want to throw Albert's way here?
Not really particular questions, but at the end of the day, it sounds like Eagles may be your second favorite team, or like up there. That's Noah's favorite team. I don't know if that's any area of common ground there, but I'm loving the rivalries here. I'm just kidding.
Not at all. And if I'm going to root in the NFC East, I'm rooting for. Let me draw it for you.
Oh no! I think he's going to draw one of those horrible figures that go into the sky. Looks like that's what it is. He's cheering for Patrick from SpongeBob.
I would rather root for the Dallas Cowboys than the Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well,
now that I know that that's Noel's team too,
honestly, I don't even know who do you hate more now, Mark? Is it the Eagles? Is it the Cowboys? Or is it the Giants? Who's the one that you despise the most?
I feel like the Giants and the Reds can just trade players back and forth. Like, they're my second favorite team. And then it was always the Cowboys growing up, but ever since moving to Philly, like, it just not even it's more just like being around that so much, you just grow to like that's who you're always engaging in conversations with. So they've become the least favorite just because that's who I'm interacting with the most.
Well, and they smell the most. So
fair enough.
It's hard to say.
I will tell you, I mean, just living here in New England, Mark, I will tell you my least favorite out of any of them are the New York Giants. I can't. They kill me because you know what it is? You can have a fantastic conversation with an authentic Giants fan, and then it's almost like with New England. You can have a conversation with a Giants fan, and immediately the ones who don't follow as much, they're like, well, we did beat. If they find out you're from New England, they were like, well, we got 2 Super Bowls over here. You're like, okay, that's fine. And yes, there are 2 Super Bowls, but then you have New England fans who are like, man, I can't. Well, we got 6 Super Bowls. What? And you're like, you just became a fan, so I don't want to hear you.
Right.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
but you encounter more Giants fans that always go to those 2 Super Bowls, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. Like, talk to me about your team now. Tell me about Daniel Jones. Tell me about Sterling Shepard. Tell me about your guys. Like, let's talk actual football, not talk about Super Bowls where their defense won and they made a couple lucky throws,
No, I hear you. I am afraid we're going to run out of time, so I want my one last question for you is what you get the rest of the time. What do you want to say to Newell? You're ending it out here.
Newell, I've talked a lot of smack. I'm going to continue talking smack. You are an Eagles fan. You are my rival. I'm glad that you're my rival. I wouldn't choose anybody else to be my rival. And this is just me extending an olive branch. But again, although I can hate and you can hate, you still have a really good team. You've beaten me twice, which I'm not going to say that there's luck, but eventually when you have the losing record and we talk about this a year from now, just remember, the champ is still here.
I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said. I think that's it.
Nothing else. No swears, nothing else. Seth, Newell, whatever other name you have, watch this, enjoy this, and we're going to continue talking.
All right.
Well, on that note, Albert, thanks for joining us. This was a fun one. Appreciate you coming on.
No, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
All right. And I hope both of you guys can figure out how to win soon, because it sure is fun on top. So,
second highest score, 0-2. I'm hating it. Every moment of it.
Let's see how my team does Monday night today. We need help.
That's true. One more game. All right, guys. Until next time.